Insane strength before WWE Backlash. 405 pounds lift sends a warning. WWE reacts to monster workout. Is Bron Breakker unstoppable? Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. How does someone who is still early in their WWE journey already start treating 405 pounds like it's just another warm-up set? And maybe the bigger question, what kind of message does that send when Backlash is sitting right around the corner and everyone else is preparing in the same locker room environment? Because this isn't one of those clips you scroll past without thinking twice. It sticks. It lingers. It makes you pause for a second longer than you expected to. Bron Breakker isn't just lifting here. He's making a statement without saying a single word. And honestly, that's where things get interesting. Let's set the scene properly. No hype music needed, no dramatic narration in the background. Just a gym. Iron plates. That familiar metallic clink that every lifter knows too well. And in walks Bron Breakker, calm like this is just another day on the schedule, not some viral moment waiting to happen. Now most people when they see 405 pounds on a barbell react in one of two ways. Either they respect it from a distance or they mentally calculate how many injuries they would accumulate trying to touch it. There is rarely an in-between. But Bron steps into it differently. There is no hesitation that you can see. No overthinking. No visible, should I really be doing this today, energy. It is just focus, almost eerie in how controlled it looks. And then he lifts. And that's where the conversation really begins. Because the first thing you notice isn't just that the bar goes up. It's how clean it goes up. No dramatic shake, no desperate struggle, no halfway moment where you think it might stall. It moves like it belongs in that motion. Like gravity briefly forgot its job. And I know fans sometimes exaggerate strength online, but this one doesn't need any help. It sells itself. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, and I want you to really sit with this part. Because the reaction after the lift is almost as important as the lift itself. There is no big celebration, no long pose for the camera, no theatrical flexing like you sometimes see in workout clips designed purely for attention. He just resets. That small moment says more than the lift itself. Because when someone handles something that heavy that casually, it changes the way you interpret everything else they do. And suddenly your brain starts asking questions it wasn't asking 5 seconds earlier. If this is how he treats 405 in training, how does that translate when the stakes are real? When the lights are brighter? When the pressure isn't just physical but psychological? Because WWE isn't just about strength. We all know that. But strength still matters when it shows up like this. Especially when it comes from someone like Bron Breakker, who already carries that explosive, unpredictable energy in the ring. Now let's be honest for a second. Fans love debating gym strength versus ring strength. It's one of those never-ending arguments that always shows up in comment sections. You've got one side saying strength translates directly, that power is power no matter where you use it. Then you've got the other side saying the ring is a completely different world, and lifting weights doesn't prepare you for timing, impact, or chaos. And the truth, as always, sits somewhere in the middle. But moments like this? They tilt perception. They make people look at Bron Breakker and think, okay, this isn't just athletic ability. This is a foundation being built for something bigger. And the timing makes it even more interesting because Backlash is right there in the background of all this. It's not random. It's not isolated. Everything starts to feel connected even if nobody officially says it is. You start wondering if this kind of training intensity is coincidence or preparation. Because wrestlers don't just wake up and casually hit numbers like this for no reason. There is usually something building underneath it. Something that hasn't fully surfaced yet. And that's where the mystery kicks in. What version of Bron Breakker are we about to see at Backlash? Because if this is the behind-the-scenes version, calm, focused, almost surgical in how he approaches strength, then what happens when that same energy gets mixed with crowd noise and adrenaline? That's when things change. And fans who have followed him closely already know this is not someone who operates on a low gear. His entire presence has always leaned toward intensity. There is a certain snap to his movements, a kind of controlled chaos that doesn't really turn off. But here, in this gym moment, you see the other side. The disciplined side. The side that doesn't need noise to perform. And that combination is where things get dangerous for anyone watching him from across the ring. Because raw power is one thing. Controlled power is something else entirely. Now let's talk about that number again for a second, because 405 pounds is not just some random milestone. It's one of those weights that instantly communicates seriousness. Even people outside the gym world recognize it as heavy. You don't need a coach to explain it to you. You just know. And when someone moves it cleanly, especially in a controlled rep like this, it forces a recalibration of expectations. You stop thinking good athlete and start thinking problem. Not a small problem either. A recurring one. The kind that shows up on a card and immediately changes how people predict outcomes. And the internet, of course, does what it always does. One clip drops and suddenly everyone becomes a strength analyst, a wrestling historian, and a future booking expert all at once. Some fans are already saying things like this is proof he is ready for a breakout run. Others are more cautious, pointing out that wrestling success is not measured in gym numbers. And both sides are kind of right, which is why the discussion never really settles. But here's the thing nobody argues about. This clip gets attention. And attention in WWE is its own form of currency. It builds anticipation even before storylines catch up to it. Now imagine the locker room perspective for a second. You're preparing for Backlash, you're focused on your own match, your own storyline, your own momentum. And in the background, clips like this start circulating. Not because they were promoted, not because they were part of a segment, but because someone decided to push iron that most people would hesitate to even load. That energy spreads, even indirectly. Because it sets a tone. And Bron Breakker seems like the kind of guy who doesn't just participate in the tone. He changes it. Now I want to slow this down for a moment and really lean into the bigger picture. Because what makes this interesting is not just the lift itself, but the pattern it suggests. When athletes start combining consistent physical dominance with growing on-screen presence, that is usually when the conversation shifts from potential to expectation. People stop asking if they are good. They start asking how far they can go. And that is a completely different type of pressure. Backlash becomes more than just another event in that scenario. It becomes a measuring point. Not just for wins and losses, but for presence, impact, and whether all this raw power translates into something meaningful when it matters most. Because in wrestling, timing is everything. You can be strong in January, but if you peak at the wrong moment, it doesn't always matter. But if everything aligns, strength, timing, momentum, character, that is when careers start accelerating. And Bron Breakker is sitting right in that conversation whether people admit it or not. Now let's not overcomplicate it either. At the end of the day, it's still a gym clip. But it's the kind of clip that changes perception. And perception in wrestling is often the first step before anything else follows. And I don't know about you, but it feels like we're watching someone who is still in that phase where everything looks like a build-up. Nothing feels fully revealed yet. Just pieces. Moments. Glimpses of what might be coming. That's why this one stands out.